I work in a glass and steel office building downtown, the kind with badge scanners, automatic lights, and a security desk that looks impressive but mostly exists for show. It's a normal place. Fluorescent lights, gray carpet, the low hum of HVAC. Nothing about it ever felt strange to me until the night I stayed late to finish a report. It wasn't unusual to work after hours. Deadlines stack up, and sometimes it's easier to stay when everyone else leaves. Fewer emails, fewer interruptions. That night, most of my floor cleared out by 8:30. I waved to a couple of coworkers, put my headphones on, and settled in. By 9 p.m., the building shifted into its after-hours mode. The lights dimmed slightly, the air conditioning got louder, elevators stopped chiming on every floor. All of that was normal. I'd seen it dozens of times. The first thing I noticed, what I'd later think of as the first red flag, was how quiet it got. Not peaceful quiet, empty quiet. The kind where every sound feels too sharp. My keyboard clicks echoed. When I rolled my chair back, it sounded like someone dragging furniture in another room. I remember pausing my music just to make sure no one else was still around. I didn't hear voices, footsteps, or phones ringing. Just the building breathing. I told myself I was being dramatic. Around 9:40, I stood up to refill my water bottle. As I walked toward the break room, the motion-activated lights flicked on ahead of me, one section at a time. Again, normal. But when I turned back toward my desk, the lights behind me stayed on. Usually they shut off after a minute. I stood there longer than I needed to, staring at the empty cubicles, waiting for them to go dark. They didn't. I told myself someone else must still be on the floor, maybe tucked into a corner office, maybe in a conference room on a call. I didn't bother checking. When I sat back down, my computer screen was awake. I hadn't touched the mouse. At first, I assumed it was a setting, or maybe my headphones brushed the desk. I wiggled the mouse, opened my document, and went back to work. But a few minutes later, I realized the screen brightness had adjusted. It was subtle, like it had adjusted itself. That was the second red flag. I hovered my hand over the mouse and waited. The screen didn't dim. The cursor didn't move. After a few seconds, I laughed quietly at myself and typed a few lines. I was tired, that was all. Then I heard typing. Not from my keyboard. It came from somewhere behind the cubicles. Slow, steady keystrokes. Not frantic, not fast, like someone taking their time. I froze. For a few seconds, I convinced myself it was the HVAC clicking or the building settling, but it was too rhythmic, too deliberate. I turned my head slightly, just enough to listen better, and it stopped. Complete silence. I sat there, heart beating harder than it should have, waiting for it to start again. It didn't. After maybe a minute, I exhaled and shook my head. Someone else was probably there, and they'd just finished typing. That explanation felt thin, but I accepted it. I tried to focus on my screen. That's when my chat app notification popped up. A simple gray box. No sound, just text. You still here? No name, no profile picture, just the message. I stared at it longer than I want to admit. The app usually shows who messages you, even if it's a system alert. I checked the sender details. Blank. No user ID. I typed back, "Who is this?" The typing indicator appeared immediately. 3 dots. Then nothing. The indicator vanished. No reply. I closed the app, telling myself it was a glitch. IT had been rolling out updates all week. Still, I locked my screen when I stood up, another thing I didn't usually do when I was alone. As I walked toward the elevators, I passed a row of empty desks. One chair was pulled out slightly, like someone had just stood up. I remembered hearing the typing and felt a twist in my stomach. I pressed the elevator button. Nothing happened. The button didn't light up. I pressed it again, harder this time. Still nothing. I glanced at my watch. 10:12 p.m. The elevators sometimes slow after 10, but they'd never stopped entirely. I pulled out my phone to check for a service alert. That's when I heard the printer start. It was on the other side of the floor. One page fed through, then another. I didn't go to look. Instead, I walked, calmly because panic felt embarrassing even when no one was watching, toward the stairwell. The door opened easily. The stairwell lights came on, bright and almost comforting. I took 2 steps down and stopped. From above me, somewhere on the floor I'd just left, I heard the typing again, this time closer. I stood perfectly still, listening. The sound didn't echo, it didn't bounce. It was clear, like someone was standing just out of sight, typing at a desk near the stairwell door. I didn't wait for it to stop. I went down the stairs, fast but controlled, all the way to the lobby. The security desk was empty. The monitors were on, showing live feeds of the building. I didn't look too closely. I didn't want to see something I couldn't explain. I pushed through the front doors and felt the night air hit my face. Only then did I realize how tense my body had been. My shoulders ached. My jaw hurt from clenching. I drove home in silence. The next morning, I found an email from IT waiting for me. It was short and polite. They asked if I'd experienced any system irregularities around 10:47 p.m. They wanted to confirm a logout from a workstation on my floor. Not my desk, a different one. I replied that I'd left before 10:30 and hadn't logged into any other computers. They replied a few minutes later, apologizing for the confusion and saying they'd resolved the issue. That should have been the end of it. But later that day, a coworker I barely knew stopped by my desk. He asked casually if I'd been working late the night before. When I said yes, his expression changed just a little. He told me something I wish he hadn't. Years ago, someone on our floor used to stay late a lot. They were efficient, quiet, reliable. One night, they didn't leave. Footage showed them at their desk past midnight, typing, standing up, sitting down. Then the footage cut out. Their badge was never used again. Their desk was cleared by the end of the week. HR called it a private matter. People stopped asking questions. As he walked away, he added one more thing. The typing sound, people still hear it sometimes. Usually after hours. Usually when someone is alone long enough for the building to notice. I don't stay late anymore. Sometimes, though, when I'm packing up right at closing time, my chat app flickers. For just a second, the typing indicator appears, 3 dots, pulsing patiently, like it's waiting to see if I'll answer.